How to talk to my spouse about doing an intensive. That's our topic today. And if you've yet to subscribe to our channel, please do, because if you're struggling with these issues, we have so many, I'm talking hundreds of YouTube videos that can help you in your journey to recovery. And if you have a question, put it in the box. We'll get to it as soon as possible. I'm Dr. Doug Weiss. I'm actually the person who created the intensive. 3 and 5 day intensives was something that I've been doing for over 30 years, and nobody has the amount of experience I have. So I want to share with you a couple things, because so many times we get a call of one of the persons wanting to do intensive, yet they want to talk to their spouse. And usually the spouse is the person who has the porn addiction, infidelity, intimacy, anorexia, and they may or may not be that excited. So I want to talk to you about first what an intensive is, why you want to do one, and then how to maybe have this conversation. Number one, an intensive is you come for 3 or 5 days to Colorado Springs, and you have your own sessions, one with him, one with her, one together every day. You go to groups specifically related to your topic, and you also do educational videos that are specific to your situation. So it's very much tailored to you and your situation. And you address what needs to be addressed, find out the root causes of the addiction or intimacy anorexia, or if it's partner betrayal trauma, work through the results of that. And then you also, when you leave, you have an action plan for you to continue care and what needs to go so that you can stay clean. And we have a very high success rate on sexual addiction, intimacy, anorexia, partner betrayal trauma, and these are things that we've been doing for decades. So we have lots of tools and a lot of things that you won't be able to find anywhere else in the country, actually, because we develop these ongoingly. And I want to encourage you, the reason you would want to do an intensive is because it can expedite your recovery incredibly. You can literally save months, even years of outpatient counseling by doing an intensive, finding out how you got where you are, deal with if you've got trauma or abuse or situations in each individual's lives, and then have a plan for ongoing recovery with the ability to be in phone groups and ongoing counseling. That can be incredibly helpful to expedite your process. Plus, you're working with people that are actually certified in all 3 areas. Anyone doing intensive in my office is certified in treating sexual addiction, intimacy and anorexia, and partner betrayal trauma. So they understand all 3 thoroughly. They've all gone through the length of supervision and the 40 plus hours. It's 120 hours of training just to be able to serve you with excellence. You can do psychological testing. You can also take advantage of the neuromodulation if you want to do that. The Polygraphs can be a part of your intensive if you want to do that. So there's so much that you can get done. And I've been doing these for decades, and I've seen so many people get so far ahead in their recovery in a week. It is so worth doing. For those that really want recovery, it'll expedite it exponentially. There are some that come, and honestly, the guy doesn't even know why he's there. And they see recovery, and they get excited about the potential for it to happen. And there's always a percentage who are drugged there by their spouse under threat, and they don't want to get better. They want to keep seeing the girlfriend or keep doing pornography or keep withholding intimacy. And if they saw God himself, they wouldn't get better. They're entrenched in addiction. They don't want to get better. And for that person, I would say they're probably what we call pre-contemplative. You know, you're taking a risk that they still might leave the same way they came because they don't want to heal. And in addictions, the desire to heal is really important for someone to heal. So if you're looking for a miracle that, they're telling you, I'm going to keep doing this, I don't want to stop, no one can tell me what to do, you might want to just believe them. And then there's videos of like, why do I stay, or Unstuck, and that you might want, and you might want to do some phone counseling or come do your own partner betrayal trauma intensive. And you expedite your own growth, and that'll help you make the decisions you need to make going forward, give you strength to have boundaries, etc., etc. So the why is it is expeditious. You're dealing with experts, not people who say they treat sex addiction. I did my own personal research years ago on 3 major cities in America, and typed in sex addiction counseling or therapy. And I found that over 95% of people who say they treat sex addiction have no certification whatsoever. So what you avoid is getting wrong advice. What you avoid is a situation where maybe they focus on one piece. That's another thing I've heard clients complain about. Well, they just treat the addict, or they just treat the spouse. At heart to heart, what you're going to find is the addict can be treated, the partner betrayal trauma can be treated, and the marriage, which is also suffered because of the addictions, can start to mend and heal if both people are willing for that to happen. And I've had thousands of people be successful, okay, but they're the people that do the work. There's no place you can take somebody who does or doesn't want to get better, and they magically get better by showing up in a building. They have to want to be willing to do the work. So if they're unwilling, you have to accept that. And then you have to accept why you stay. And then like the DVD, why do I stay when it doesn't make sense? You might want to watch that, do some phone counseling, and figure your piece out. We've had, guys be bluntly honest that, no, I'm not changing, and my wife isn't staying because of me. She's staying because of her convenience, the money, the family, her own low self-esteem, and he's got her number, and they have an agreement that he can do what he wants. And it's not like a written agreement, but it's kind of an unspoken agreement, and she gets to keep her lifestyle. Well, if you're in agreement on a system like that, it's going to be hard to change that unless both people want to change. So having said all of that, how do you approach a spouse who can be anywhere on the continuum for wanting to get help? Now, of course, if they've tried to get help before and they're open to help, this is a much easier conversation. If every time you bring up the topic of porn, you get yelled at or shut down, if every time that you bring up the topic of we're not having sex, or I don't feel loved, or I feel married and alone, this is not a marriage, you get shut down or even punished harder, then this could be a challenging conversation. So let me go through kind of some basic points that you may want to consider as you try to talk to your spouse about having an intensive. First, don't start with them, start with you. Talk about your pain, your feelings. So let's suppose you're a woman, you're talking to a man, but it could easily be the other way. You would say, Bob, can I talk to you for a few minutes? I really need you to hear me. Make sure the TV's off, the phones are not available. And say, can I just have a few minutes of sharing my heart with you without you interrupting me? Get that agreement first so that you have uninterrupted time. And you share your feelings. I really feel alone, or I've been really having a lot of PTSD symptoms, and take out the partner betrayal trauma book and highlight the symptoms that you've been having. And just so you can communicate and say, this is normal for what we've been through. I've read the book, it's very normal, or have him watch the DVD afterwards and say, these are normal symptoms. And I'm having a lot of them. I'm feeling depressed. I'm not feeling like myself. I'm avoiding other people. I'm having dreams. I don't want to go out and be with others. And that's not me. That's not who you married. And I'm in a lot of pain. I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling like I'm not myself. I'm feeling that I'm not even as good as I could be as a wife, friend, lover, even a mom. And I really want to heal. Would you be open to me for me to heal? Okay. And it's either a yes or no. And then you could say, I really want to do something kind of hard-hitting and really helpful really fast. Would you be okay if I did that? And I want to do something together, because I think if we do it together, we can both get tools together and we can heal together, and it'll go a lot faster for me, for us, for the marriage. And, if there's something that you got to deal with, you can find out what it is. Would you be willing to do that? Okay, it's going to be yes or no. Okay, but be prepared for them to say no. And if it's no, you have to accept no. You can cry, yell, scream, but they've made the decision not to heal. And you cannot violate human will. No matter what you wish it would be and how much it's going to cost you emotionally, spiritually, financially, or your image, or whatever it would cost you, you have to accept that they might say no. If they do say, yeah, I'd be open to that, say, okay, well, I got a place in Colorado that does this marriage counseling intensive, and I want to go to that. Now, if you're specific, if it's sexual addiction because you've been dealing with sex addiction, they know they're a sex addict, you can be specific about that, because we do all of them. Sex addiction, marriage, a general marriage one, intimacy, anorexia recovery, partner betrayal, trauma intensive, okay? And even ones for adult children of sex addicts. So just let them know, I really want to work on this together, and I have a date. Can we take off, this particular date, and I'll set it up. It costs about this much. And if they go for it, then go ahead and, solidify the plans and, all of that. And so you'll need to stay in a hotel, and, my office can help you with all those details. But you want to stay on your side as much as possible. If they have struggled with intimacy and anorexia, and you've watched the Married and Alone video or the book, you know that as an anorexic, they want to be in the good box. So as much as they can be in the good box at this stage, the better. And they're in the good box if they're helping you and helping the marriage. If you go at them and say, we haven't had sex in 6 years, you're withholding from me, you're angry, you're controlling, you're mean to me, and I can't take it anymore, you have to go, well, you're putting them in the bad box, they're going to fight you right away. Okay? And even addicts who don't want to stop, letting them know, hey, there's a potential that you could be free. They don't believe you. But when they sit in a room full of men who've been free for 5, 10, and 15 years, and they look around the room and they go, oh my gosh, there are dumber guys than me who've actually stopped this. Now, I know that might sound silly, but they honestly don't believe. I didn't know how to believe that I could actually heal. So you can give them these opportunities, but be prepared. Already have a date with the office that you're holding, because you can hold it for a couple of days. Talk to them. Another thing I would say is do it in a public place. Do not have this conversation in your bedroom. Do not have it in your living room. Have it at a restaurant. Have it in a park. Have it where public behavior is expected. So they can't stand up and yell and scream. They can't accuse you of false things. They can't act out. They might leave the room. They might walk out. They might even leave you at the restaurant. But you don't get the yelling and the screaming where in your own home, they might feel more comfortable being, let's just say, more dysfunctional than they would in a public setting. Now, if you've done this kind of stuff in the past and you haven't been successful, you can always call, if you're in a religious group or a support group, or if there's someone else you feel can be helpful to help you with this, you can do that, but that's probably something you would do after this one failed. And you have to lower your expectations. People who have high expectations and then it doesn't work out, it's your expectations that were the problem. Because there are people who just don't want to get better no matter what. They just are. And yes, that might mean it changes your entire life. Yes, that means you might live in a different place if you choose to heal and they don't choose to heal. And it might be that you have to deal with your fears first before they feel you're strong enough to actually enforce what you're saying. Because some of these guys and gals, they believe that you're too weak, are financially dependent, or they have you by your religiousness, and because of your religion, you're never going to be able to push all the way through. You can't make a decision to threaten them with a separation or divorce. So in their mind, in their script, there's no way you're going to follow through. So in that case, you want to start with your own counseling, get in a support group, start working the workbooks, and get stronger. Watch the DVD Boundaries and other things that can be really helpful for you so that you can get strong enough so that when you do say that, it can mean something. I remember I had a lady who was trying to get her husband help him. He wouldn't budge. So she had a 16-year-old, and she says, Dr. Weiss, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to nursing school. I'm going to finish my nursing degree. My son's going to graduate. And when I get my first job, I'm going to file for divorce because I can't take this for the rest of my life. He wasn't giving her any options. He was very anorexic and very cruel and just a very sad situation. But she was focused. She went to school. She got her thing. And she came and visited me, showed me her pay stub. She was so proud of herself, and rightfully so. Because for all of their marriage, she didn't work. She got herself a job, got herself an apartment, and she filed. Well, when she got a job, he made an appointment to come see me. It was too late. It was too late for that situation. But her getting a job is what made him believe that she is going to change. And I've seen that several times. So if you have as part of the system, and it might take a counselor to help you know what the system is that needs to change, you might work on that change if they're resistant to this at this point, and then come back at this when you are in a more strengthened place so that they think that there is a real potential of losing you and all the advantages you bring to their life. Well, hopefully this has been helpful. And I would say you want to stay very calm. You might even want to practice with a friend or a counselor your conversation a couple times before you do it. You might even want to write down your points that you want to share and just go through it so that you can do it without getting wrapped into the anger, the hurt, the crying, and all that. Because if they can tip you into your emotions, you're probably not even going to finish what you have to say, and it'll get disruptive, and they don't have to deal with what you're actually asking them, which is to change, to give an opportunity for this marriage to actually be thriving and healthy, spiritually, emotionally, sexually, financially, all of it. So you do deserve to heal. And you've already probably, if you're watching this, you probably made a decision that you're going to take that journey to heal. So do that, I would say, even first. Get some basic understanding of the issues you're dealing with. Then formulate a plan, formulate a night that you can take them out or a Saturday morning breakfast, and then execute it with notes, staying calm, staying focused, have the date already saved. So if they say yes, it's just a phone call of, yes, we're in, we'll be there, here's the credit card number, and go. And then they can take care of it. You know what date you need to get your tickets. And then we can see you in Colorado Springs and see where we go. Now, I'm Dr. Doug Weiss. I've done probably, close to a 1,000 or more of these. I mean, I've been doing them for 30 years and 2 or 3 a week. So I have seen a vast majority get better, but those vast majority are people who want to get better. I've seen some people just start the recovery in intensive and change their life. And I've seen people come and pay, what it cost, and he or she just fought it the whole way. They wanted to stay with the girlfriend or boyfriend. They wanted to keep the pornography. They were never going to have sex with their spouse again, no matter what we said or did or what. There was just no way. They made a commitment to their disease that is greater than their commitment to you. And so if that's where they are, you have to accept their decision not to heal. Well, if we can serve you in any way, if there's any of the materials that you want to start your journey, just call 719-278-3708 or go to drdougweiss.com. We have seen intensives be so successful, but you have to come for it to work, and you have to work when you're there for it to work, and you have to work after you leave for it to work. Well, we want you to get better, and we care about you, and hopefully we'll see you in Colorado.